have to experience to understand it. You really do, because it's that deep inside you. It's like love. It's trying to explain love, and you have to experience this type of music in an element amongst so many other people that love it too, to understand the power of it. It's there for you, and it's just between you, the DJ, and the music. It's just a feeling you have to experience, bottom line.
Hopefully it's loud enough, but again, it's like so raw, Layal. I just finished up. You know, I haven't done anything to this track yet, really.
There's always been an after hours. Even in the early 40s when segregation and all that, but it was the music that brought a lot of people together, whether you're black, white, Indian, Chinese, or whatever. It was the music and the camaraderie of dancing and the joy. It didn't matter who you are. It just made everyone one. I remember at a nightclub, one of the DJs late at night started playing something that no one really heard before, unless you were part of the underground culture of that type of music. And when I heard it, it spoke to me, and it just made me better.
I wanted to experience and find what was my Studio 54. I saw the movie, I read books and magazines about this party lifestyle where people were free to dress how they wanted and be who they wanted to be and dance to this, amazing, at that time, disco music. And I wanted to find that.
It's natural for you to love house music if you grew up with disco and funk. I was 19 years old when I just got introduced to the Twilight Zone, and people were doing splits, people were doing cartwheels, and I'm just like, what is going on? And people were just doing these incredible funky moves, and I'm like, I didn't know, first of all, like bodies move like that. So it was unbelievable. And I remember sitting there and my head was in my hands, and I thought, oh my God, there's just another world out there.
A lot of the folks wasn't used to seeing this type of dance, but it brought everyone together. But then outside of that, it goes back to normal again,
Usually it's a song about love and life and peace and unity and unity and unity and unity.
The drums, and that's, basically every track in house music, it's all about the drums, and drums are tribal, going back to African roots, and it's, it hits your gut, and then it just upwards into your brain and downwards into your feet, and you just can't help but move. It just creeps into their body, and it's something that you can't expel it from your body. It's almost like a disease, but in a really, really good way.
It was just word of mouth, right? Like it wouldn't be advertised. They might tell you, okay, come to this address, and they'll have a dude there. It's in an alley, and he'll be like, oh, the party's at this address. And he's just a total decoy. And then you end up at this party where, you know, it's like just a dirty warehouse, but like the craziest DJ is spinning there, you know what I mean? You know, it was different, right? It was a different scene.
I don't know. I just, it's this like addiction. Music.
I need music in my life to function. I can't imagine not having music in my life. It's like not breathing.
So I just fell onto these chords. Here we go. 2, 3, 4.
When you hit that emotion where you have you're in a crowded room and you're just lost in your own music, and people are sharing that music with you in a different way, whether people are dancing to it, or whether people are just listening to it. I've had moments where I've felt like I was floating, where I felt like I was being lifted, like I was on a drug. Like I could feel like hours have gone by, and it could have just been 5 minutes.
What do you mean when I lose myself? When I'm the piano, I don't know, maybe I'm using the wrong words, losing myself. I think, no, what I mean to say is I just forget about everything else in the room, anything else going on, you know, but I don't necessarily have to even concentrate on what I'm playing, it's just coming, but I have thoughts going through my head, like either there's some memory from when I'm a kid, or it's, you know, a bad situation I had with a friend or a girlfriend, or my family, or my brother, but it dictates how I play though, right? If I go from like a happy time in my life, you know, I'll be like, I don't really, actually, I never play that.
So if a piece of music sounds happy, people tend to smile subtly. Over time, I think we internalize the mood that we are initially reflecting. The way that I think about it is that we have music on the outside. Our bodies and our brains are working very hard to make sense of it, and the way that our bodies do that is by recreating the music from the outside. So that doesn't necessarily mean that I have a drummer over here, I have a vocalist over here, and I have a lead guitarist over here. But there's some attempt at reproducing the emotional intent of the piece of music.
I think tranquility is definitely it. Happiness, an overwhelming amount of happiness. Sorrow. The great thing about music is that whatever emotion you're trying to get through, you can definitely conquer that emotion and feel like, okay, I feel it, I felt it, and now I can let go of it.
After enough time, with your body struggling to reproduce what's happening on the outside, you then get activation of the limbic system, the emotion center. And you also get activation of long-term memories of the way we felt when we were feeling like the music feels right now. And that further enriches the experience and further brings us into this mood of happiness, sadness, peacefulness, whatever it is. So if you do that enough and you're immersed in that environment long enough, then I think all kinds of things can happen.
The imagination is in everybody, but there's only a handful of people that can express it and bring it out, and really give something that makes you feel what you feel. Like, sometimes I feel like it's not even me.
When you hear a really good song, you can't just sit there and do nothing. You have to express it.
You know, you've always got that kick drum going boom, 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 boom. Then you got the snare boom, tch, boom, tch, boom, tch. And every little extra sound is just another wave. And it's just like surfing on all these waves, you know, at a nice easy pace that's easy to move to. So it's simple to just let go and enjoy it.
You know, there's been times where I just, you know, people have looked at me and they said, you know, are you crying on the dance floor? And I said, yeah. Dancing makes me feel like there's no one else except me, but yet there's everybody else, including me. I mean, I don't know if that even makes sense, but it feels like I'm the only person in the room, but yet I'm totally aware that I'm one of hundreds of people on the dance floor. It's like I'm living in parallel universes.
Kind of like a super reality. It's even more real than everyday reality because I get to actually be myself. I don't have these rules. This is reality for me.
You feel the music, and you know when you feel the music and it shows to other people feel it. You know what it does? It's like a tap on the shoulder saying, hello, let's dance.
You know, you can look at the person beside you and you know they're experiencing their thing. It's not the same as you, but you're both there together and you understand.
Feeling the vibe, you can connect. You just get it.
People don't just dance randomly. Number one, they track the beat, but they're also tracking the emotional content, and they're reflecting that.
It's always some sort of a spiritual feeling connection.
Dig this.
Yeah, I say that we're soulmates. I mean, if you're there, you're dancing, yeah, and I look over and I see that look on your face, then I know what's going on in your mind and in your heart. It's like mental telepathy.
I would say I'm a dancer first and a photographer second. I like watching people when they dance. I like to see the joy in their faces. And when I go out there, I like to capture that in my images.
See the beauty and to feel the bliss and joy of just being in that moment in time is what electronic music offers me every time I dance to it.
When people come together, they seem to come together more when they move together. You can also predict the success of a relationship by tracking movement congruency early on. Okay, so if you track movement in friends, their movement and conversation is more congruent than if you track strangers.
And you know, you're spinning, you're dancing in front of each other. You don't even know each other, but there's this inherent trust that you have for these people. I know I can trust them because they're there and they're giving it all they got.
So if we're all together and we're all mimicking the same source, all feeling connected, it's a very powerful feeling.
When the music hits me, you'll see me put my camera down and I will dance. In those days, unfortunately, you won't see a lot of photos. DJ can stir up the spirit and the soul. The spirit and the soul.
You're there to be moved, you're there to dance, you're there to experience something that you'll never be able to experience anywhere else.
You know, when you can just go into this basement and it's dark as hell and magic happens.
Being in a room of like 4,000 people in government and you're all on the same level. And,
you know, the DJ's taking you up here, he's like Geppetto.
The music is rising and the drums are raising and the vocal is soaring.
And at one point, you know, everybody's screaming.
And you just kind of look around and everyone's just on that same level.
Not even a rock concert will do that to you. A DJ can do that to you. A DJ is like a god. We're all looking at the DJ. We know what he's capable of. That's why we're there.
It's definitely an adrenaline shot. It's not just that, you're also like giving back to people and they're really appreciating it.
Communicating through music and sharing music with people is what I'm supposed to do. And when I get really excited about music, I want to share it with people. I really enjoy spending time trying to find that hidden gem.
Deko-ze, I mean, his track selection, his energy that he has gets the crowd going. He's got power over the dance floor.
Journey to the light.
A good set will tell you a story. And I find Adam K, his music takes me on a journey and it hits me inside.
Building a piece to a puzzle that doesn't exist yet.
As an artist, the most beautiful thing is when you surprise yourself. It's so dramatic, and there's so many other elements to bringing this drama to life.
Journey to the light.
It just feels like I'm on the dance floor with them almost. And anytime I play my next track, it's something that I want to dance to next.
Ticky and a girl who's just coming up through the ranks, wicked. Like, I always appreciate hearing some of the fresh talent because you really have to have the hunger.
I go by Sydney Blue and I DJ, and I tour pretty much all over the world DJing. People get really excited about certain DJs, and I didn't know anything about any of them. I would just go and dance every weekend and totally just stare at the DJ and just be obsessed with what he was doing.
The DJ can make or destroy a night. The wrong music, the wrong vibe can just totally put people off. It can really affect the mood of everyone in a room. If I walk into a room and I see a bunch of people just going off, feel that vibe, feel that energy, and the DJ is hugely responsible for that.
I'm trying to keep a flow together.
Everything begins inside, it comes and it's in your hands, and when you're performing, you can really feel your hands sort of move on their own. So you're mixing very fast, you're not really thinking about what track am I going to bring next, you're sort of like, that's the sound that needs to come out.
It's incredible. It's incredible to feed energy and to have it received.
Feeding off on different people's energies, and you can notice that the moment you're playing a different effect or different sound, you're seeing the crowd change.
You're performing, but everything you do, every thought that I have seems like an effect to dance.
Friends have come up and said, "You're really not in a good mood, are you?" And they realize that through the way that I'm playing.
So if I'm not giving it my all and enjoying it, there's a direct result of it on the dance floor.
There's unbelievable power, unbelievable energy, and I kind of work two ways. If I'm getting bad energy, I kind of give it back, and if I'm getting good energy, I really give it. I give it everything.
I'm looking for smiles, closed eyes. If someone's just like really grooving, that means you've given them a reason to let go.
Journey to the light.
A huge element is escapism and freedom.
And my first experience with electronic music was when my son was turning 28 and wanted me to go with him to a place called System Sound Bar. I was a bit apprehensive because he told me there would be people his age and I was much older. However, I felt no barriers, no restrictions, no judgment. It was the first time that I felt really capable to freely move. And then Deko-ze came on and I thought I died and gone to heaven.
Part of my experience with growing up that was kind of difficult was dealing with being different. I think I was one of 6 black people in all of Saskatchewan. Never mind trying to deal with the fact of being gay.
Because I was used to being a Catholic high school where there were lots of elements that were constantly telling me that I was wrong or that I was bad or that I was going to burn in hell.
No rules, no limits. You need that freedom to get that moment, I find.
Being 16, everyone in Saskatoon, and the music just had everyone just caught up in the moment.
I finally felt I was somewhere where I felt really comfortable. I could express myself. I was hearing a wild mix of music.
Nothing mattered.
Being there for the first time, I was just in awe. I stood in front of the booth just looking at this going, this is what I've been looking for.
Wow. I remember that very first night thinking, I'm born. This is where I want to be.
My mom, she loved disco and she was all in the gay community and worked with ACT. So it's funny how I grew up to being part of Pride. I found it.
Pride, number one.
Every year, there's always at least 5 people who come to me and say, you know, years ago, Michael, you're the sort of person I would have beat up or made fun of. And here they are dancing away in this sea of gay, straight, everyone in between. Families and partiers, just in the middle of the city, like during the day.
Basically, everyone's just being themselves and they let loose and they know that this is a time where anything goes.
The fashion has to affect it. The style has to affect it because that's part of it, an interpretation of reality.
Thank powers that be that I discovered that because I've got the best friends now and the sense that I'm just on my own is gone.
Up the instrumental, and we come in without warning, and we jump straight till the morning, and we jump straight till the morning. We kill them with the peace and love. We kill them with the peace and love. We kill them with the peace and love. Now children of the Inevers, the children of the Inevers, the children who didn't have no curse. Now we killed him with the peace and love. We killed him with the peace and love. We killed him with the peace and love. Now nobody could be like us. Nobody could be like us. Nobody could move this stuff. Now, and I love it when the man cloud nine. I love it when the man cloud nine. I love it when the man cloud nine. Now, cause cloud nine, yes, it is so divine. Cloud nine, yes, it is so divine. Cloud nine, yes, it is so divine. And we come in without warning, and we jump straight till the morning, and we jump straight till the morning. And we come in without warning, and we jump straight till the morning, and we jump straight till the morning.
Are you ready to go to war? Because it was like, we're going into war right now. We're going into the governments. Danny Tenaglia is playing. It could be up to 72 hours. So if you're in it, you're in it.
MDMA is the drug that I prefer to dance on if I'm going to be dancing on anything because it's clean. It's psychedelic. It's a euphoric feeling. If there's no MDMA and I need energy, then it's ecstasy.
First rave and everything, and the first time doing E, I was scared. I was in this environment, everything looked okay, so I took half of it.
That feeling of freedom.
Uninhibited.
At ease with yourself and at ease with the entire environment.
I forget that I'm a 50-year-old grandmother. I forget I'm in a club.
I was lost. It was like, I mean, imagine stepping out of reality for a second and stepping into a world where nothing was familiar. It was crazy. It was amazing. It was spiritual for sure.
And suddenly my arms felt to tingle, and my skin is tingling. What is this? And my legs suddenly I had this energy, and all of a sudden I was more aware, free, and I could smell, see everything was heightened.
I could see them like tennis balls kind of bouncing on a screen, and I could really, like, I was dissecting the rhythms in my head, like I could see them. And I'd never made music at that time, never made electronic music or anything like that.
Love, encompassing love that I've never felt before, that just washed over my whole body. And that's when I began to dance, and I didn't stop.
I don't know what I realized, but I realized something, like it changed something in me.
You're pushing your body to the limit. Your mind is also going, it's like you're opening up this door to a dimension that you would have never gone to without that drug.
And once those doors are opened and you're just like, wow, hearing it again, you know, it just triggers that. It's a memory that will always stay with you, and which is satisfying.
The weight of anthropological evidence is great enough that we can say the use of such psychotropic agents had for many people for many thousands of years an absolutely essential place in religious experience.
It was so powerful, and that moment has never left me. I can tap into that right now, today. I feel it right now. My skin, just talking about it, feels like I have done E.
That's what we all want to feel. We all want to feel high. Now, I don't think I knew what it was to get high off of music until I actually got high. You know? Maybe a lot of people lose themselves in music without drugs. For me, it wasn't like that, but now it is.
It's like you're telling a story through dancing and through the singing. It's like you're actually that singer. And when people are watching you, it makes you become so sexual. It's like they're attracted to the way you're telling the story, because it's a sexy way of telling a story. It's like you're putting on a show.
Every every time a DJ drops a beat, it's a release. It's a release. My orgasmic experience was a dance floor. It's a release. It's a release. It's a release. And it'll always be. That comes everything else. It was almost just like it was orgasmic during sex.
When you're listening to music that you're really engaged by, you're getting dopamine released, primitive reward system, thought critical for the survival of species. Eating fatty, delicious foods, chocolates, having sex. Music can be viewed as being similar.
Sometimes it goes with the beat of your heart.
All kinds of love are essentially erotic. And in erotic experience, we really do sometimes experience being seized by something that is ancient and beyond ourselves. We become 100 million years old, and that we know this is something that is very archaic and primal, and that fills us with a sense, the goodness of the unmanifest, a principle that is beyond being, that is unmanifest, but from which all that is emerges. And we recognize that this unmanifest itself is love. Is the unmanifest the soul?
I think everyone's searching for something. But whether they're actually physically looking for something is one thing. I think we're all searching for something. I just don't know what it is.
That divine spiritual feeling, it gives me, it's like food. You know what I mean?
Closer to what the American transcendentalists, I think, would refer to as a world soul.
Everything is all connected, and we're all part of the same stuff.
It's like a spiritual thing.
It's these moments, dancing or creating or whatever, that validate that.
When you get something, you just get it.
Connected as a medium to something that's greater than myself.
God, the creator, call him what you will.
Spiritual feel that connects with your soul.
The quest that I am talking about can be understood as a way of recognizing the identity of one's own soul. That's a notion that emerges in so many religious traditions. Hindu, Vedantic tradition, Atman, the individual soul, and Brahman, the world soul. And the bliss one experiences when recognizing that identity, the quest for that bliss consciousness, comes from the experience of that.
For zikr, in mosque, communal prayers, the entire community that's just reciting this one word. And you see people basically like rocking back and forth. You see their eyes closed. You see that they're in that state, and you're also in that state, and you're one in that moment. But also that the word is just a symbol for something greater.
It's almost like there's a spirit that comes in you, and I've seen it in church as well. It takes over you and it transports you into this other world.
It's a flow, it's a rush of energy that it's like a top spinning.
Like I actually spin around, and people have timed me for almost 10 minutes.
Centrifugal force keeps you centered and very, very tightly centered.
Round and round and round and round and round, and I could complete dead stop and start dancing again.
And that's where the spiritual connection arises, is when the vortexes are spinning in your body from head to toe, right through to the explosion through the crown. And that's the only way that I've ever actually felt a spiritual connection.
At a time where I was losing faith and I was like, no, there is no such thing as this and it's all made up. This is what allowed me to explore meditation and understand more about different religions, and I started seeing the oneness in it all.
In other words, within us is a principle, like the principle that guides the cosmos.
It saves me.
Gave me faith in people and knowing that there is good in everyone. You just sometimes don't see it.
Religion, nature, supernature, the good life, we crave these sorts of understanding. And I think that that is fundamental to our very being. Literally, if you examine the anthropological evidence, one has to separate oneself from the group, go out and be initiated into some kind of intense realities. This initiation into the knowledge of a higher reality is a momentous occasion and has to be marked.
All things vibrate. Tune into yourselves and they begin to sing.
Well, if you're seeking that kind of experience, a transcendence experience, then music is an ideal vehicle.
Transcendence.
I feel like that's exactly what happens every time I do perform for people and I do have that connection with a crowd.
To see that happiness, to see that joy between people. Whenever I experience that, it makes me want to create that or generate that again and again and again.
Everyone that's a house head feels this spirit of house, and you don't necessarily need the drugs.
It's a feeling of just being free. It's a feeling of being the happiest I've ever been, ever. It's a feeling of being part of this incredible, beautiful community because everybody's there for the same reason.
The club experience is amplified because there's many more there in the club that are experiencing the same utopian feeling.
When like my favorite song, is playing and the room is going off and the DJ's playing it, it's just like, holy shit, this is fucking amazing.
Get to another level and you're looking down and you can see everything else from the bird's eye point of view.
Kind of like that rush, and then you get up there and then it's just release and everything's calm afterwards. It's almost like you're looking through different eyes.
Completely separated in a way or above everything else that's around me. Nothing else matters. It's just me, myself, and my good feeling.
The feeling of bliss, the feeling of belonging, the feeling of being part of one thing, of an energy that no one quite understands. It's just like love. You can't prove that it's there, but you can feel it.
I feel sometimes that I could just disappear, you know what I mean? Like I could just...
Yeah, it's almost as though I can levitate. It's almost as though I become pure spirit.
An out-of-body experience.
There was really something in the air, just the energy of people in ecstatic states.
Holy Spirit comes for the very first time, it makes it sound like a mighty rushing wind, and the whole place starts shaking, and tongues of fire come and rest on everybody. All of a sudden, every single cell in my body sort of vibrating, dancing, moving in joy in the presence of its creator. It was like pure ecstasy.
I felt a real release, definitely. After that weekend, you're drained or excited, and you leave, and it just sort of starts to wear off.
If I could live in that moment forever, I would.
The thing about catharsis is that you can let it all out, but you've got to enter back into the real world, deal with everyday life, and it doesn't really prepare you for that.
What I witnessed there, in my opinion, were a bunch of really lost people who liked to be numbed by the drugs and to have this false sense of security, this false sense of community, which was facilitated by the drone of the music and the trance state that provided.
French sometimes use the expression for the time after climax as a petit mort, little death. An awful feeling of abandonment, re-entering isolation, experiencing a maximum of connection and then falling away from that, becoming sad.
Cocaine, right?
The one you
I went to rehab. You know that?
No, you did tell me. You actually did tell me.
Yeah, I went to rehab and I wrote when I was there.
What are the words? But that before
20 years ago, I sold my soul. I sold my soul to the devil in the white long dress, line of coke, and promises of sex and gold. That was something my buddy threw in a line just so it rhymed. I haven't really done
I actually really like that line.
Promises of sex
because
and gold.
That's totally like
cocaine and fucking yeah.
I've seen a lot of people just let go too much. And I've seen it myself too, because this has touched my life too, where the drugs, it becomes the point where it's all about the escape. And when you're in a place where reality is too difficult, it becomes far too easy to just constantly go to the escape.
Just because something feels good, you can't do it all the time if it's hurting you.
My son was drawn very close to the edge. He was living in clubs day in and day out. And he was going to stay there unless he surfaced and balanced his life with other things besides dancing and drugs.
Going through like a really difficult day or a difficult life or an upbringing, and all of a sudden had this experience of like, wow, it's timeless, it's spaceless, and I'm finally feeling myself, and this music is great, and when you're feeling accepted in that community, maybe with like 2,000 or 5,000 other people at the same time, it can be a very overwhelming experience. Even just speaking it, like my voice is shaking.
Maybe that's what they need to do to connect to it, because they know what it is they want to connect to, that one entity, that wavelength, you know, that happiness.
And in a world that is sort of getting busier and busier, and people are getting more and more disconnected, there's more room for certain substances to have a bigger role in people's lives, right?
So a lot of people out there are just really numb anyways.
I find the realness comes in. Yes, you can have a drink, you can have a pill, whatever, that can enhance your experience, but the original root experience has to be about the vibe and the music and the scene, first and foremost.
Here we leave the world of the living to go dance with our ancestors in the kingdom of the dead. Are you ready?
the desire for transcendence, for the desire for trance and ecstatic experiences. We know that there are sorts of ritual activities, dance activities, and so forth that were engaged in to produce altered states of consciousness. Cultivating trance has had an important place in vanguard art circles since, well, really before the beginning of the 20th century. We see it in their interests in revitalizing consciousness. An early stage in surrealism was the époque des rêves, the period of sleeping fits or of dreams, akin to that of trance. Many of the people who have commented on this aspect of the avant-garde, its interest in integrating art and life, have forgotten that really avant-garde artists were not so much condemning the isolation of arts as they were the poverty of everyday experience, lacking in vitality, richness. Recognize the extent to which these faculties, enfeebled by the emphasis that has been placed on instrumental reason. And they wanted to find a way of revitalizing, poeticizing everyday experience. Indeed, so transform our experiences as to suggest a realm of freedom and liberation.
You go through your work week, you've got all these pressures of life, you know, I gotta work, I gotta pay the bills. You know, being on that dance floor, being free of all the extraneous crap in our lives. When you feel the pressure is bearing down on you, you can tap into that feeling. Like, this isn't all there is, there's more, there is goodness, there is something to live for.
I have found when you try your best to put out good energy, you attract that. I'm not sure how that reflects in like atoms and neurons and all that sort of thing, but people feel it.
You know, there's life experiences, but I've learned more through music than anything else. It's still the most important thing in my life because it's given me experiences that nothing else has.
There is no substitute. You can deny it, I've tried, but I was miserable. When I'm doing music and when I'm doing art and stuff, I don't feel like I have to run away from love.
The slices of passion that I see, that I feel in a club is something that I try and carry away with me and sprinkle everywhere I go.
If you like something, enjoy it, embrace it, dance to it.
And like I said, the people that are closest to me right now in my life, I met them all on the dance floor.
That spiritual connection. I do think music is another very powerful road that can be explored to achieve that same end. And I don't think it's just artificial. I don't think that you're just running this little simulation in your head and that's it.
I'm not kidding you. I've had people tell me this song has changed my life. And I'm like, if I did that, like, you know, then hallelujah, at least I did something.
I don't consider myself someone wanting to make it. It's just, I want to be heard, right? But it's for the love, really. I mean, there's no money to be made in this industry. The eruption of these moments that alert us to our connection to an order beyond space and time is still of terrific value, I think.
I haven't seen that complete transcendence into another, into where I was before, but I don't think that it's impossible to get there again.
From the perspective of a DJ, I always say to dance.
It really pains me to pee when there's a really good song. So I'm like, okay, please play a really shitty song so I can go to the bathroom. And there has been times where I am in the bathroom peeing and I have to stop peeing because I can hear my favorite song. I'm like, get out of my way.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
Not at all. Maybe I need to go to comfort zone right now to understand what you mean. Maybe, I don't know. No, maybe, yeah.
Takes me high, takes me high, feel me.